All right, welcome back. There are a lot of complexities when it comes to taxes, but there are also some hidden tax perks that some Iowans might be missing, and I know it's really not easy to miss those. So that's why we've got our financial pro, Mark Triplett, joining us here to talk about those this morning. So this is kind of going to be an overarching question. So explain to us what exactly you mean when you talk about those perks.
So one of the things that's new this year is the new flat tax for the state of Iowa. So income tax in the state of Iowa, it's kind of been a few years in the making. They've been progressively trying to lower those, but we're now at 3.8% flat tax, which actually puts us in the top 10 lowest income tax states across the country, which should be a good incentive to keep folks here, maybe even get folks thinking about moving back into the state of Iowa. We also have no taxes on IRAs, distributions, 401k distributions, or other IRAs or IOUs, the IRS. Those distributions now are tax-free for folks who are 55 years or older. So this is great for retirees or folks who are considering making the retirement transition to stay here in the state of Iowa.
So when you say all of this, it sounds like it's kind of, for lack of a better word, simplifying the structure. Would you say that?
Yeah, so that was, I think that one of the purposes was to make the filing process in the state of Iowa a little bit more simple for all tax filers, regardless of how they're filing, whether it's married filing jointly or single filing, et cetera. Yeah. Okay.
Now, as for retirement income, is that still something that's taxable?
So no, as of 2023, the state of Iowa did away with taxes on distributions from those retirement accounts for those folks who are age 55 and older, which really is the circle that we swim in. We help folks making that transition from their working years to post-working years. So for the clients that we serve, it was a really big benefit for them to reduce their taxes potentially by thousands of dollars. Also, those that are kind of planning ahead for retirement, if you're 55 years of older, those Roth conversions from traditional IRAs and 401ks that are forever taxed accounts, and you're thinking about maybe making those never taxed accounts by converting to a Roth, that became a little bit more attractive because we don't have any tax to pay at the state level on those distributions.
Okay, good to know. Because, like you said, this is something a lot of people, we watch this very, very carefully, and especially as you're getting closer to retirement, it's something you're thinking about. But then we also have our youngest people. Some of them aren't thinking about these types of things. So are there tax advantages for maybe saving for college?
Yeah, so if you have children who are in high school or even middle school or younger, and you're thinking about saving for higher education, parents or even grandparents that want to make contributions to 529 plan, for example, they can deduct those contributions up to $5,800 per beneficiary. And let's say we have one child in the family, two parents, each parent could make up to a $5,800 contribution to have that deduction against their income, their state income tax.
And like I was saying, with young people, this is something they're not thinking about a lot. And even we think about investing. What are some ways that young people can, or maybe some of them are right now, learning more about how all of this works and just learning how their money works for them?
Sure, a lot of folks are turning to social media, YouTube videos, and other small snippets that they can get in those bite-sized little packages online. Ultimately, there's some great information that can be had from some of those experts or folks that purport themselves to be experts online, but you have to watch out for misinformation as well and make sure that you really understand the tax code. That's why we always suggest you work with a qualified tax professional. As a financial planner, it's our job to kind of look ahead and find those opportunities, do a little tax planning, but when it comes time to actually do tax advising, work with a qualified tax preparer.
Good advice. Is there anything else you feel like people need to know about this topic?
I think that it's really important to understand the role that taxes play, not only as you're accumulating wealth for retirement, but once you transition into retirement. The tax code is very complex. And when folks are transitioning to retirement, they often forget healthcare expenses and they forget taxes, because those are two things that for most folks are deducted out of their paycheck during their working years, and they forget to add those back in as they're planning for retirement.
Kind of out of sight, out of mind for a lot of people.
For sure.
Where can people find you and get more information?
The best place to find out more information about our team at Triplett Westendorf Financial Group is our website, triplet-westendorf.com.
All right, Mark, appreciate you as always.
Thanks for having me.
You bet.